Go ahead.
Philip. All right, the topic this evening is the heresy of modernism, which is going to be presented to us by Dr. Raymond Marcin.
Marcin.
Marcin, all right. I would like to give you a little background on Dr. Marcin's life and scholarship. Born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, he was educated at St. Thomas Seminary in Bloomfield, Connecticut, St. John's Seminary in Brighton, Massachusetts, and Fairfield University in Fairfield, Connecticut. He holds an A.B. degree from St. John's Seminary in philosophy, another one in Fairfield University in education. He received his law degree from Fordham University in 1964, a master's degree in library science from the Catholic University of America in 1984. You still look very young, sir. How could you pack all of that scholarship in your life already? It's marvelous. Before teaching law, Mr. Marcin worked as a legislative draftsman and analyst for the Connecticut State Legislature, a staff counsel for the State of Connecticut's Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, and an attorney for the Neighborhood Legal Services Program in Hartford, Connecticut. He joined the Catholic University of American School of Law in '71 as a supervising attorney in the school Center for National Policy Review, and became a faculty member in 1972, rising to the rank of ordinary professor in 1979. He was elected to the American Law Institute in '81. He is a member of the Advisory Council of the National Lawyers Association. He has lectured at the Salesian University at Katowice, Poland, and at the Jagiellonian University, correct me if I know my pronunciation is not really accurate, in Krakow, Poland. In 1995, he received the Mary Mirror of Justice Award from the Catholic University chapter of the Guild of Catholic Lawyers. Mr. Marcin publishes mainly in the areas of legal philosophy and constitutional law. We're delighted to have you here this evening.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I noticed that I have to get another piece of paper for I'll have to.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Mrs. DeVito. I've kind of changed the name that I'm giving to the presentation this evening. I was going to talk on the heresy of modernism, and I am going to talk on the heresy of modernism, but I've just changed the name of the paper. I'm calling it by a very presumptuous name, The Great Moral Flaw in the Second Vatican Council. And I'm glad to see in the audience here several people who can remember what the church was like before the Second Vatican Council. The title of this paper might seem a bit strange and maybe presumptuous to those who are mired in the timeless truths of the Catholic faith, and they've been soundly disoriented and dissatisfied with the Second Vatican Council and its aftermath, and those who have failed to experience the grand springtime of faith that the Second Vatican Council promised. Likely in the minds of those brave souls, many moral flaws were exhibited in the Second Vatican Council, and certainly in its aftermath. And it's presumptuous to identify one as the great moral flaw. Others would suggest that there cannot possibly be a moral flaw in the Second Vatican Council or in any ecumenical council because of the oversight of the Holy Spirit. And this paper, to them, might even seem blasphemous. Nonetheless, this paper, without quarreling with the thesis that there were many moral flaws, both at the Second Vatican Council and in the implementation of its documents, it presumes to contend that there was indeed one great moral flaw, a moral flaw that underlay and served as a launching point for all the other Vatican II and post-Vatican II moral flaws that have been observed over the past 4 decades. And this great moral flaw is one that, if accepted at face value, it threatens the very understanding of the Second Vatican Council as a legitimate ecumenical council. It casts grave and serious doubt on the proposition that God the Holy Spirit was in any way involved in overseeing the doings of the participants in the Second Vatican Council. So during the closing ceremonies at the end of the Second Vatican Council, Pope Paul VI joyously informed the world that the Second Vatican Council had been, and these are his words, had been assembled in the Holy Spirit and under the protection of the Blessed Virgin Mary and of St. Joseph and of the apostles St. Peter and Paul. Well, 7 years later, same Pope Paul VI, on the otherwise joyous occasion of the 9th anniversary of his coronation, he issued the following lament, and these are his words. We believed that after the Second Vatican Council would come a day of sunshine in the history of the Church, but instead there came a day of clouds, of storms, and of darkness. And how did all this come about? We will confide to you, these are the words of Pope Paul VI, we will confide to you the thought that may be, we ourselves admit in free discussion, that may be unfounded. And that is that there has been a power, an adversary power. Let us call him by his name, the devil. It is as if from some mysterious crack, no, it is not mysterious, from some crack the smoke of Satan has entered the temple of God. Those are the words of Pope Paul VI. And over the past 4 decades, since the close of Vatican II, the Church has experienced a sharp fall-off in the attendance at Mass, sharp fall-off in vocations to the priesthood and religious life, a cessation of the belief in the real presence among a clear majority of the laity. Some surveys say 70% of the laity no longer believe in the real presence. There's been a failure of Catholic schools and teachers to catechize and educate the past 2 generations of Catholic children in the timeless truths of the Catholic faith. There's a widespread non-use of the sacrament of penance, the effects of a relaxed and easier annulment process on understandings of the sanctity and permanence of marriage, not to mention the shocking priestly and even Episcopal homosexual scandals, known all the while, but only publicized around 2002. All these developments since the Second Vatican Council illustrate what Pope Paul VI must have had in mind when he lamented that the smoke of Satan has entered the temple of God. So what went wrong? What was the great moral flaw that caused the hopes and aspirations of the participants in the Second Vatican Council to go unrealized, and the Church herself to seemingly go awry? So awry that Pope Paul VI was moved to surmise that the devil is afoot in spreading clouds and storms and darkness within the Church. Well, one clue as to the great moral flaw comes surprisingly from the early post-Vatican II writings of our present Pope, Benedict XVI. Back in 1982, Pope Benedict XVI, then writing as Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, made some astonishing statements in a treatise on Catholic theology. The statements that he made lie at the heart of a controversy that's currently percolating within the Church, especially in so-called traditionalist and so-called Catholic, conservative Catholic circles. In that treatise on Catholic theology, Pope Benedict XVI wrote, and these are his words, "Not every valid council in the history of the Church has been a fruitful one. In the last analysis, many of them have been just a waste of time." And in the very next sentence, he wrote that the last word about the historical value of Vatican Council II has yet to be spoken.